Hello, welcome to Angular After Dark. Today I'm going to show you how you can combine Spectacular, the Angular integration library, with Angular testing library, which is a test as a user approach, testing library for Angular. So this is going to be quite interesting. Spectacular is a somewhat new library that we created at NG Workers. So I'm really looking forward to showing off what it can. It has 3 APIs in its current version, and one of them is the feature testing API. And today we're going to show off how that can be combined with the Angular testing library, and you should be able to combine it with the Angular CDK component harnesses as well. That's something we might look into in another episode. But today it's about the Angular testing library and Spectacular working together. Let's find something here. So I already set up an Angular CLI workspace. I added the Two of Heroes application that you might be familiar with from one of the official Angular tutorials. So I actually set up a repo. It's here on my GitHub user. You can look for a Spectacular example, Angular testing library. And this is the Spectacular package page on npm. It's currently version 0.2 because I have some features planned out before I want to call it version 1. And the most important one is it's a cross-version compatibility so that we can verify that it works across multiple major and minor versions of Angular. However, right now it's only proved to be compatible with Angular 11, which is the version used to build it, and the current latest version of Angular, by the way. It will most likely or hopefully work with older versions, but I don't have the CI set up to test that in integration yet. So, but we'll get there at some point, and then it'll be version 1.0. Another thing I wanted to make sure is that it integrates well with Angular testing library, and I recently tried that out, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So hopefully you're familiar with this Two of Heroes tutorial. If not, let's open up the app in a second. And I was thinking, what would we like to test? We're going to sorry, I'll zoom this in. So integration testing, in this case, it's about integrated component tests. And that means we will have more than one component set up using the test bed. And in fact, what we can do with Spectacular's feature testing API is we can test a whole feature module, a whole feature Angular module. So that means we can navigate between all the routes in a feature. And let's see what that is like. So yeah, so in a single test case, we can navigate between multiple components or pages or routes without having to set up the test bed again. So that is really neat because it's very similar to end-to-end testing, but it has the speed of the test bed and the flexibility of the test bed to, say, stub out a service when needed. Of course, we want something that's as realistic as possible, but sometimes we want to stub out, for example, the native browser APIs like local storage or HTTP or something like that. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes just any Angular service, which if it makes the test easier or cleaner in some way. Okay, let's look at this Angular Two of Heroes workspace here. Let's go find the route, the app route module, app routing module. Okay, so we have these 4 components, and they're actually in the same module. So there's only one feature module, or more like actually it's not a feature module, it's the app module importing this app routing module. So we only have one routed feature module in this case. or in fact we don't. They're all like eagerly loaded on the initial load of the application, but that's okay. I mean, this could be actually, this could become a problem because the feature API of Spectacular is for testing a feature module, and we don't actually have a feature module right now. So importing all of this might give us some troubles, but let's see how far we can get. And if it doesn't work, we'll split it out into feature routed feature modules. Okay, maybe should we take a look at the app? No, let's first see how far we can get with setting up the actual tests. What do we want to test though? What do we want to test? Hello, that's the Angle After Dark logo. I was thinking we would edit or test this edit hero form, because that's the place where the user can actually give some input. So that's a pretty interesting part to test, but also a very complex one. There's a lot going on in the code to make all of this work. But let's see if we can test that. That would be interesting. That would be inside of the heroes feature in the heroes component. Yeah, seems like it's in there somewhere. Let's look for that in the code. Heroes and the heroes component. What does that look like? Okay, so so that's a list of the heroes, and it goes to the detail route. That's probably where we want to look. Although you can also delete from this heroes page. That's also something we might want to test. In fact, let's make that the first thing we want to test. Oh, and up here we can add a hero. Yeah, let's do that first. Let's try to test adding a hero, if we can get that far at all. Okay, so of course we're going to need some libraries now. Let's see, ng-add, and let's add the Angular testing library. I think it would be testing library / is it an Angular or Angular testing library? Let's try this one. No, then it might just be /Angular. Nice. It's currently at version 10.5. That should also be working with Angular 11. And in fact, Tim Deschreier, who's the maintainer of this project, is currently looking into also using the Angular versions action by ng workers to ensure cross-version compatibility, so that you might be able to support several versions of Angular with one major version of his library. Okay, so there's not an ng-add schematic, but did it change something? Yeah, at least it added the library, although this should be in development dependencies, not dependencies. So let's put it down here instead, and I'll just rerun pnpm install. I'm using pnpm because it's a lot faster. Okay, it says it's up to date, so I will put in here. It's a jar installed Angular testing library. That's the first library. Now we're going to need, and we don't have an ng-add schematic for that either, but we're going to need the ng worker spectacular. And no, it's not spectator. Similar names, similar domains. They're both testing libraries for Angular, but this one is for integration testing in particular, and it supports some very specific use cases. For example, feature testing or integration testing a feature in Angular, which I haven't really found support for anywhere else, except maybe or not direct support as a use case. I mean, the Angular testing library supports it, but then you need to know how to set up the testbed and the router testing module in particular. And that's where Spectacular, one of the things it can help you remove some boilerplate or a lot of configuration that's pretty hard to get right. So hopefully we can show what this looks like. Now we'll add Spectacular. One package. That's it. Okay, we have version 0.20. Install Spectacular. Install today. Spectacular. Okay, now we should be good to go. We have the Angular testing library and we have the Spectacular sitting right next to each other. Good, good, good. Okay, so heroes. I guess if we were to split this Two of Heroes application into features, we might say that we have a dashboard feature or page, whatever you want to call it, and a heroes page or feature or domain, whatever you want to call it. So let's create here in the app folder, create a heroes.integration.spec.ts. This has no particular meaning, except you might want to filter your tests based on what's an integration test and what's a unit test. Because integration tests will be slower than unit tests because they involve a lot more classes in each test case. But they will still be run by default if you don't filter out any tests. So we're using the default test setup by Angular CLI. That's Karma and Jasmine. So we're using that for our unit and integration tests here. So let's see. Heroes integration test. The first thing we want to test here, that was the heroes page. It has a particular route, right? Yeah, it has a heroes route. So let's say heroes page. That's our kind of our group of tests, because we might add other groups like the details page as well. And now we want to, on the heroes page, we want to test adding a hero. So we'll create another group here. And now we need this special setup to configure the testbed so that we can use the routes inside of this heroes feature. And like I mentioned earlier, this application is not really split into features. They don't have separate modules. They're all in this app routing module, which is imported by the app module. So this might not work with Spectacular, but let's see if it does. And if not, we will extract a feature module for the heroes routes. So we're still going to need the testbed. Let's just find it here from Angular core testing. No, that's not true, by the way. No, we're using the Angular testing library. So we're going to need testing library Angular. We're going to need the render function. Yeah. Let's see. So we want a render result. I'm just going to put this in a shared variable here. Call it result. Render result of. And now we want something from Spectacular. And you work for Spectacular. It's not split into sub-packages, so this is the only entry point, at least right now. So we're looking for the Spectacular app component. The type looks like this. And now let's put this in a before each. like so. And we'll do result is render, and then spectacular app component, and then we can pass some options, and that's exactly what we want to do. Is it not happy? Oh, it's async. Okay, so we'll do async await. Await. There, now it's happy. So this is the type we get back from calling render and resolving the value of this promise. This means that this is the root component that we create a component fixture for using testbed. It's just hidden away behind this render function from Angular testing library. So let's see which options we're going to need. Okay, let's start with the imports. And this is where we're also going to need something from Spectacular. Let's look for the Spectacular feature testing module. Add it here. Then we'll say with feature. It's the only way to use this module. Pass it some options. Now we have to tell it which Angular module do we want to test. What's the feature module we want to test? And since we only have one right now, let's see. Yeah, we have to pass in the app module. I don't know if this will work, but we'll find out. The app module is somewhere here. Here, app module, like so. Oh. The option is called feature module. So that's the module under test. And then we need to pass it a feature path. That's the router, the route path that is used to load this feature. And since it's the root, like we only have one feature, let's try with the empty string here, because it is a required parameter. Ideally, these options would say heroes module, and for example, heroes, and every route would be nested inside of the heroes path. For example, there would be the heroes page, there would be the details page, and so on. But right now, the Two of Heroes app is structured like so. So let's try that and see if it works. We also have the option to add router options here. That's everything you would specify to the router module, all of these options here. However, let's just go with the defaults in this case. Shouldn't matter for our usage, hopefully. One last thing. Since Spectacular will be importing the app module, let's look into the app module. The app module is declaring all of these components, including the app component. And because of that, we have to specify a special option here for the Angular testing library. It's called Exclude component declaration. And here we have to tell it, you don't have to add app component to your declarations. Oh, sorry, just need to set it to true. Oh, right. Okay, so it's actually about the root component here. So it's about the Spectacular app component. We're telling Angular testing library, you don't have to add a declaration here, because that would be a duplicate, because the Spectacular feature testing module is already declaring Spectacular app component. Don't think we can see it here because it's just compiled output. Yeah, we're not able to see the decorators here. But that's what we need to do when setting it up for Angular testing library. If we were using Spectacular without Angular testing module, we would have this function called create feature harness, which would set everything up here and return an object with a few services and import this and a few other things. But now we're using the Angular testing library because it gives us some nice APIs for interacting with the DOM and other things. And Spectacular doesn't come with that out of the box, so you need to bring your own. And this is one of the ways you can do that. Okay, so now we have the basic setup. We have this render result from Angular testing library. We imported the Spectacular feature testing module. It will load the app module using the default route here, the empty route. So this would be similar to lazy loading the app module, except it won't be lazy loaded. But that's what you need to imagine here. You need to imagine that we had something like this. Router module for feature, or oh no, what is like? It's like for root, yeah, like so. So imagine we have something like this. Path empty, load children app module. And with a real lazy loaded route, of course, it would be something like import app module, like so. But what it does behind the scenes is actually this. This works exactly like lazy loading a module. So it's setting up the router testing module and adding some configurations. Yeah, this should be it, right? Yeah, I think so. So now we're ready to add our first actual test case. And what do we want to test? When the hero is saved, when the add button is clicked, or the hero is played, we can say. And I don't remember what all this works like, but it seems like when we click the add hero button after entering a name, it should be listed here in this heroes list. So that's what we want to test for now. Okay. So let's see. What do we want to do? First, we want to make sure we add the right page, and that would be for this whole group. We would do a before each. And then the Angular testing library has this function called navigate, right? Or is it on here? No, then it must be under render result. Okay. Result, but navigate. Yeah, this is it. And it's probably async. We'll do await result navigate. And now we need to tell it the route of the heroes page. And I think it was just heroes, right? Yeah, it was. So it'll be like so. Is there any options we can pass here? No. It's not. Should be it. This should navigate the Angular application to the heroes page. So now we should be able to click the button on that page and use the input fields. So we're looking for a label with hero name. Angular testing library is for like test as a user. That means kind of like what does the user see and what can the user do? Well, they can see DOM elements. They can click fields and buttons, and then assert. We can assert on what do they see after the action has occurred. So first, I guess we want to. Yeah, now is the time. I have to tell you, I'm not very familiar with the testing library, but I did add some tests of using Spectacular recently. But yeah, what do we need to do? I guess we need to click this label, or well, we need some way of putting text into this input field. So I guess we would click this label, and this is actually built with accessibility so that the label is referring to the input element. So I don't know if we could specify this ID, because but we shouldn't. We should think like, what does the user see? Well, they want to enter something in the field that says hero name. So yeah, let's do the whole thing inside of this test case for now. And what do we need? We need screen, I think. Yeah. So we could do it here from the result, like looking for all these elements. But I think the best practice is to use when using testing library APIs, we should use the screen. So, okay, what do we need? Yeah, so there's a bunch of similar APIs. There's find, get all, get by, query by, and I'm trying to figure out which one to use. Let's. I think I have to look this up, since I'm not very familiar with the testing library. Testing library cheat sheet. It's right here. That's the React testing library cheat sheet. Is there one for the DOM? Yeah. Okay. So which one to use depends on how many elements are you looking for. Should it be asynchronous? And should it throw or return null or an empty object? And in this case, I think it would be great if it would throw if we're not, if it doesn't get a match. Yeah, so async. Well, we are using async, but yeah. But why would you want to make it async? I don't know, maybe to wait for it to turn up or something. But hopefully Angular testing library takes care of waiting for the element to appear, but I'm not sure. Okay, so get by. If there's no match, it throws. Okay, good. If there's one match, it returns that element. Okay, well, what about the query by? Oh, it will return null if there's no match. Well, I really want it to throw. So we'll use one of the get by functions. So for example here, label, get by label text. That's probably the one we want. Find by label or area label text content. Yeah, that should be it. So screen that get by label text. And now I think we can just, what's a matcher? We just put in a string. Where did the type go for that matcher? Oh no. Oh yeah, okay. ID matcher. Okay, so it can be one of several things. A function, a regular expression, a string, or a number. Let's try just a string here. Hero name. So it does have a space here. So maybe I'll add that to make sure, because I don't know if it can figure out how to trim it by itself. Okay, do we need to add other parameters here? Oh yeah, there's some matcher options. Exact, normalizer, selector, suggest, trim. Okay. And I guess we could do like so, if we're lucky. So this would be the name label. It should be this. Okay. And now we want to click it. And I guess that would be the screen API as well. wouldn't it? Or how do you click? Salt.click? No. Event. What is it called? Like fire event. Oh, I guess we need to import that as well from the Angular testing library. Fire event. There is a nicer API called user events for the DOM testing libraries and so on. But let's just stick with the Angular testing library for now and see if we can make that work. So fire event click. We want to click the name label. And any options? I don't know. Which options can we pass? Nothing. What's the API for this? Go to definition. Nope. Why can't I go to this definition? That's strange. Fire event. Fire object. Options. Oh, doesn't list which options. Okay. I don't want to look in the documentation right now. So let's just say we want to click this element. So yeah, now we have clicked the add label. So the user clicked this one, which means that the input field is now focused. And then we want to enter some text. Can we just enter text into the focused field, or would we have to enter text specifically in this one? That doesn't make sense. Oh, I guess I might have done something wrong here. It might be instead fire event change. And then, no. Can't be the name label. How can you say just a focused element? Where is Tim when you need him? How do you do this? If you know, please let me know. If not, I'll have to look it up. Okay, so I'll go to the spectacular repo on the ng worker mono repo because I was working on this in a branch to see whether. Hey, Beeman. Okay. You are here, but you don't know how to help me. No, I'm trying to learn about the testing library as well. So that's fine. Yeah, I had this branch to see. Yeah, you're here to learn, not to teach. Okay, I'll try to teach you something about Spectacular, but to do that, I have to figure out how to use the Angular testing library as well. Okay, so I had this branch, and I wanted to figure out whether I needed to add more APIs to Spectacular to integrate it with Angular testing library, because I thought I had figured out how Angular testing library works and what was needed to use it together with Spectacular, and fortunately, it looks like that was the case. So I didn't have to actually add more APIs. I just had to. Yeah, I worked in this test suite here. So let's see what I did here. Let's zoom in. Yeah, this should be good. Let's see if we have something about changing a fire event. Yeah. The input. Oh. Yeah, but I really want to like click the label and then hit the text. How can I do the focused element? Is there anything in here? No, this is just really, I don't really like this example. I have looked at it before. No. Get by text, click, yeah. Oh, okay. Get by label text. Okay, so it will return the input element, not the label. Okay, that was what I was afraid it would return the label. So it's actually the name control. Okay, so I guess I don't have to click it. I can just call change or input. In the examples, they use change, so let's try that. Change the name control, and then we have to pass it the details for this event. And a change event should have a target. So we could like pass it this element, but then it wouldn't have the right value. So I think this is like a cheating the JavaScript, the browser API into what we need here. So I think it should look something like this. Isn't that what I did in the example? Yeah, target value and then the new value we want here. Yeah. So what's the name of this hero? Call it your name is Ram Demon. Have a variable called Ram. That's nice. Our event that change, is this async? No, it's a synchronous API. Okay. So now we have the setup of this test case. We have entered a new name. Hopefully, I mean, I haven't run this test yet, but we'll see. So our test should see what happens. The hero should be displayed after we click the add button. So that is the event we're looking for here. And Demon thinks it's funny. I'm glad. It's the only joke I can come up with right now, this late at night. It's like 30 minutes past midnight in Denmark right now. So it is indeed after dark. So now we have the new values, and now we want to enter this button, the add button. So it has a text, add hero. So similar to before, we want to fire an event, click, and then, I mean, we don't have to store it in a variable. So we can do something like screen get by text, add hero. Yeah, that should be it. Okay, so now we have, when we have the setup. So this would be if we use the arrange act assert methodology, it would be like so. I usually don't like put in the comments because it should be implicit that it's grouped into these three groups in general. But I'll put it in here so you can more easily see what's going on. So we have our act that's clicking the button after setting up a state, which is we have a new name and we want to store it somehow. So the assert is the hero is now displayed. Yeah, this is the tough part. Yeah, it is like a true after dark session. I know this light, Elgato light, is pretty nice, so it looks bright, but let me tell you, it's pitch black outside. Okay, so I really don't have any idea how to do this assert that we can see the hero name somewhere. So actually I want to run it now, the test. So let's just do expect true to be truthy. And if we can get a passing test, at least we got all these parts right. But most likely it will fail miserably now. So npm test. Let's see what we got. I hope the tests that were already in place are working, or I will have to delete them, because that's just from the Two of Heroes. Oh no, NGCC. Why are you doing this to me? Time wasted. It's especially horrendous when you have Angular material, because it will go through all the packages even if you're not using it. So since this is Karma and I didn't tell it to use headless Chrome, now this is running in the background in a separate window. So let's see what it's doing. You might be able to spot something funny. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this was what I was afraid of. The spectacular feature testing API is for testing a feature module, not the app module. So no, we can't do that. We really can't do that. We could test the app routing module, but that would leave us with the problem of these declarations are not really in place. But maybe, yeah, let's see if that. We would also need like the forms module import, HTTP client module. Yeah, you know what? We actually, that's something we do need as well. Imports, we should definitely have the HTTP client testing module. Should be in, don't want any HTTP requests to be fired. It's in Angular common HTTP testing. Yeah. So this will stop out the HTTP client so it doesn't send real HTTP requests, and we can make fake responses if we want to. It's not something we're going to need right now, hopefully. Oh, by the way, this is using the in-memory. Oh, not this thing again. This is such a pain when doing things. Oh, who put in these nice heroes? Oh, thank you, Angular team. Yeah, that's the NG workers team right here. Oh, so so it's not actually making HTTP requests, or there's, I don't know, the in-memory thingy is doing some interception or something. So maybe this is not even required. No, let's comment it out for now. I have your comment here all the time, Beeman. Sorry. What are you saying here? Okay. It's horrendous that NX puts it in the post install. Yeah. This is calling the NGCC compiler. Yeah. Then when you install something else, yeah. Well, I guess it's just, yeah, I guess the strategy here is run it as soon as possible, because then it won't be annoying when you actually need it. You'll spin up the development server or run the tests without getting to that NGCC step like I just saw. So yeah, I would have preferred that, actually. I would have preferred it did that after I installed the other packages, because then like it took a while before I needed to run the ng test command. But when I did, I have to wait for this stupid ngcc. So I actually prefer the NX way. Okay. Okay, so what's this? What? What's going on? A lot of HTML for some reason. Well, it's still this message of the browser module being loaded twice. So we need to split out. I'm trying to figure out if we could put something in the app routing module. Wouldn't be a routing module anymore. It would be more of a feature module. But yeah, that might actually work. What does the app component have in its template? It has router and messages. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to see this, but this is actually like the point of the feature testing API is to test a feature in isolation. So we wouldn't see this part of the app, the main page or the primary navigation and so on. We would only be seeing these components here. So I guess to test this, we have to make some changes. We have to do an actual feature module. We don't have to make it routed or lazy loaded in the route for now. So instead of having the heroes route here and the details, we would do heroes and then load children, and then we can actually do like so, without like eagerly loading instead of lazy loading. But yeah, no, for no particular reason. Okay, we'll just put it here. I don't want to have to change too much. So going to need the from Angular core, going to need the ng module, my least favorite part of Angular probably. This is the heroes module, module, and it's going to import the router module for child. Now we need the routes. We need a path. Now we should relocate some of these. Like so. This one will be the default. So it will be path match full. Heroes component is here. Hero detail component is here. Yeah. Have to pass the routes, right? Yeah. Okay, so I need export class. And this looks like an Angular module, doesn't it? I hope so. Usually, well. What does this one doesn't have like a heroes route, or sorry, it doesn't have a router outlet. No, that should be fine. That should be fine. Okay, but now we have the problem of this is the deal about modules. Now this module should also be declaring. And wouldn't it be nice if we had scams instead of everything in one app module? But we don't right now. So we declare the heroes component, the hero detail component. I think the hero search is used. It's the one app hero search. Yeah, I think that is actually used by the app component. Yeah, so it's not really part of the heroes feature. No, so we should declare these two. Let's do it in the heroes module. I really hate junk modules like these with everything stuck inside from a whole feature, but let's go with that today. I'll make an exception. But now the trouble is, now we need to figure out what do they need, these components. Fortunately, we only have two. Yeah, don't close that one, close the rest. We actually have the heroes module now. Okay, so we can't close this one. So now we need to figure out, let's look at the heroes component. What does it need in its template? It's using, let's see, it's using probably reactive forms, no, or sorry, the template-driven forms, or maybe not even that. So where's the hero name used? No, it's not using forms. There's no ng model. Okay, so it's just using hero name somewhere here. Yeah. Okay, that's a strange way to do a form, but okay. So what is it using? Click doesn't require an import. ng4, okay, so need the common module. Add that to the imports as well. Anything else? Router link, okay, so, but we already have the router module for child that will also import the router link directives. So we should be good for that. Is there anything else Angularly-ish here? No, that should be it. That should be all this component is using. It's such a mess. It's such a mess. Like this should have a hero scam with common module and router module. But I'm trying to not do it. I'm really trying my best to not make scams. Okay, let's like, but look at this mess of like when we're moving components around, we have to figure out which dependencies does it have declarable dependencies. Oh, it needs the router module, it needs the common module, and it needs the forms module or whatever. Okay, the heroes details component, what is that using? It's using common module, router module. Anything else? No. Okay, we got lucky. They have the same declarable dependencies, and we happen to have them imported here. So they should be happy. Yeah. And something is wrong here in the heroes module. I forgot a comma. Okay. That's not too bad. So between these two, would that make out our app? Or are they routing somewhere else? Let's look in their code. It's not injecting the router. So it's not routing from inside of this component. This is not injecting the router either. What about the hero service though? yeah, B-man. Yeah, yeah. Someone who dislikes Angular modules. That's me. I formalize a pattern. Yeah, I discovered the pattern with a lot of other people, and I put a name on it. Scam, single component Angular module. And yes, I hate Angular modules, and I added even more Angular modules. It was actually for a reason. I wanted to be able to do tree-shakeable components or standalone components, but that's still not possible really today. I mean, we have now this lazy loading of components, but that doesn't actually work. So I found a way to do it even before, like in Angular 8, before the stable release of Ivy. I found a way to do standalone components with most of the features actually working and very few Angular components. And scams is a step on that ladder to get to actually to the point that there was one Angular module per bundle or per feature or whatever, or per chunk. But the components were declaring their dependencies, their declarable dependencies, in an array. And that's what it would look like without Angular modules. We would have arrays to say these are more declarable dependencies. And hopefully those arrays would be part of the metadata here. It would be, or sorry, this is a hero search. I don't need to look into that. The heroes component, it would have like so. Outer link, directive, ng4 directive, or in Minko's original proposal that he prepared with Alex, I think, Alex Riggabaugh, you would also be able to do modules here if you wanted to include like a bunch of declarables, like all the common ones. So you would still be able to do common module. I would prefer we didn't have modules, but you would still be able to do that according to his Deb's proposal from when he just joined the Angular team a couple of years ago. But like I would say we should go for like this would be just an array instead. Router declarables or router exports, whatever, and common declarables or common pipes. And this would just be an array. So it would say decimal pipe, and it would say what else is there? Is there like a number pipe? Pipe, JSON pipe, and so on. So we don't need modules. We can have just arrays and don't have to deal with all the metadata. So this would be the ideal situation for me, in my opinion. And I wanted to emulate that. And I did emulate that. I just didn't write articles about the next steps yet. I only wrote a part about emulating the tree-shakable components using scams. That was the first step. The next step is to make what are they called? Component render modules. So in that case, you would have something like a scam per component, but it would actually, instead of instead of importing modules, it would add the declarables needed for that component. So that's the next step after scams. A component render module. So it's still one module per component, but it's actually declaring the components it needs, not importing modules. And the third step and final step after that is what's called feature render modules. And when you do them, you have one module at the top of a feature module. And each component, for example, this one, instead of having it here, it would be in an export like so. So when another, there's a bunch of more details, but basically this is what it looks like when using feature render modules. You declare your depths. We could call this the hero steps. So another component using this component would refer to the hero steps as well. And in the end, they will all be combined in a single module, and the duplicates will be removed and so on. So each component declares its dependencies, or the application won't work as expected. And you have just one module per bundle. So it's kind of trying to get the best of both worlds until we have an official solution at some point. And it's still on the roadmap, like getting this, something like this, some solution for a local compilation scope. And that's what the Angular team calls optional modules, optional ng modules. That's local compilation scope. So one component can be compiled in isolation, and to do that, it needs to declare its declarable dependencies in the component, not in a module, or it wouldn't be optional ng modules. So optional ng modules, when and if we ever get them, it will be about standalone components. Unfortunately, it won't be about a full application without ng modules. That's not in the roadmap at all. So we'll probably never ever see that again. To see that, you would have to go back to Angular 2.0 RC4 or something before that. So they're not even looking at how can I create a whole application without Angular modules. They're only looking at how could we do a standalone component so that we can lazy load and compile and render a component without an Angular module. That's it. We'll still have modules for routing, bootstrapping, and all these other things, and dependency injection, configuration, all that. So yeah, but I look forward to hopefully getting something like this at some point. That would be nice. Would make this mess easier to manage, so I don't have to sit and look through the templates. Which declarables do we need? Because I need to move this component into another module. That's just stupid work to do and really error prone, very tedious. So I really don't enjoy that at all. Yeah, so yeah, I am creating more modules, but it's for a good reason. And I'll probably someday I'll get back to writing about the rest of that pattern. But I did actually present it in a talk, and there's even a workshop about it as well on YouTube. So look me up on YouTube, look for optional ng modules and dynamic rendering in Ivy, and you'll find examples of these patterns. It just happens that scams are useful for other things as well. That's why people use scams, not for getting rid of modules, but for having code that's easier to reason about. And yeah, one last thing, if we did create a scam for this one, we could locate it in this very file. So that would be the hero scam. It would look like so. Common module, router module. Those are the declarable dependencies we need for this template. And then we just need to export the heroes component, and we have to declare it as well. And we would have to locate it under this one, or we would have to use a forward ref. We don't want to use that. Yeah, so this is a scam. You know what? This is my application now, so should we use scams? Yeah, I think we should. We should use scams. Now we don't have to declare it here. Feature module shouldn't worry about declaring components, except for maybe one component, which would be the page or shell component for this feature. But we don't really have that here. We only have separate components that are on separate pages. Okay, so now we did create a scam, and we put it in the same file as the heroes component, so it's easy to locate. Let's do it just for the heroes detail component as well. And we can actually copy paste that one from here. So import common module, import router module. Those are all the declarable dependencies we need. Then we need to declare this component and export it. I guess we don't even have to export it since this is a routed component. So no export. We need to import ng module. Yeah. Let's just go back here. This is intended to be a routed module, so we don't even need the export. And one last thing to go. Instead of the hero detail component, we will go for the hero. Oh, I named it right. Hero detail scam. And we'll find it here. And we can import it here and get rid of these declarations. Yeah, much better, much cleaner. And now they would be easy to move between modules. Yeah, this is much better. Oh, I'm already feeling much better. Nice. Less pain. Less pain. Thank you, Scam. Thank you, Scams. Okay, so now Is there a reference to this one? Yeah. So it's referenced in the app routing module. Could make it lazy loaded, but it's not in the original app, so there's no reason to do it right now. It will work the same in the tests and in practice. It just won't split it into a chunk, but it doesn't matter right now. Let's look again at the app module. It's not declaring the hero search, or sorry, the heroes component and the hero detail component anymore. Instead, it is importing the app routing module, and the app routing module is loading this feature called heroes, which is in the heroes module. And the heroes module has routes, and it imports the scams for the components we want to route to, like so. So let's just close down the test here and see if we can npm start the app for the first time. I just want to make sure that it builds and we don't have an error here. Waiting. I have my computer in power saving mode. Oh, there is an error. Is it missing an ng module annotation? Yeah. No, it's not. Appears. What? What is it saying? Line 45, hero scam. Appears in the ng module imports of heroes module. Yes. Oh. Why didn't you? Oh, it is importing and it is an ng module. So what's the matter? Oh, this is what I did wrong. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense now. Imports. They are modules. They're not components. I wish they were declarables or arrays of declarables and not modules, but that's not the case. So I did that wrong here and in the other one as well. Okay. Good thing I checked, or I would be very unhappy with testing. Oh, so one of them was using ng module, so that's needing the forms module. It's using the ng model directive, so it needs the forms module. That's the hero detail component. So navigate to that, go to its component model, and now in its scam, we will do forms module. Yeah, now it builds. So, okay, let's do a commit, but not the test, just these changes to the application. Okay, we have a refactor. Extract heroes module, and it's routed. Okay. Are we ready now? I hope we are. Let's get back to our spectacular test. And let's do the npm test dance again. Close this down, go to the test suite. And now instead of the app module, now we do have a feature module to test. And it's on the routed path called feature path. And ideally, I shouldn't have these this in a magic string here because it should match whatever is in here. So ideally, I would have this in a variable, but for now, I don't want to worry about that. Feature path, feature module. So that's kind of the idea about this API is you tell it I want to test this module, and I also need to pass its routed path prefix, because this could be hard-coded in other places in the application. So it should really be the same as in the real app. Okay, so now what is happening now? Still something error. Oh, let's just run it one more time. It started before making this change of the module under test. Go ng test. Spinning up a Chrome browser. So now it's running all the tests. But now we got to our heroes integration test. Okay, no provider for HTTP client. Well, at least now the test is actually trying to run. So now we do need this. Since we don't have the app module anymore with this horrible HTTP client in-memory web API module, now we actually do need to stub out the HTTP client. So the HTTP client module will provide this HTTP client, or it will stub it out so it doesn't send real requests. So it's an Angular common HTTP testing and another colon. Here we go. So let's run the test again. Now remember, we don't have a proper assertion. So what we're looking for now is a passing test, just to get all this set up right, and hopefully some of these steps. So what is going on now? Okay. Okay, so this is actually an error. Oh, that's where all this HTML came from. Testing library. Oh, let's zoom in, sorry. So this is an error from the Angular testing library. Found a label with the text of hero name. However, no form control was found associated to that label. Make sure you're using the for attribute or the area labeled by attribute correctly. And all of this is just karma, unhappy that something was injected. Oh, but look at that. Our test is actually rendering the heroes module, the heroes page here. How lovely is that? So yeah, this thing aside, we'll fix this in a moment, hopefully. But this is one of the other nice things about the feature testing API Spectacular, because notice that I'm able to test this whole module. I'm even able to render it in the test, so I can look at it in Karma, but without an actual application. So if I had this heroes feature module and all the pages and so on, if I had that in a separate workspace library, which would usually be the case in an NX workspace, I would be able to test it regardless of an application, because some features are meant to work in several applications, and some can even be like distributed in a separate package on a private registry. So this would allow me to test this module without an actual application inside of this repo. So it's completely tested in isolation, which is nice, because a workspace library should be testable in isolation. So this is tricky to do with the test bed, but it can be done. Spectacular is just using the test bed behind the scenes. Angular testing library is using the test bed, and the DOM testing library, the core API of the testing library family of testing packages. So yeah, this is what I wanted to achieve with the Spectacular feature testing API, testing a whole feature module without an application, without the full application, just these pages in isolation. And now I want to, in my tests, do all the user flows that are part of these pages, or this feature of pages. Yeah, so now we're at me not knowing exactly how to use this. So it found this, it said that it found this label. This should be in the heroes component, I guess. So we know that because it found it, it told me it found it, and we saw it being rendered in the test. So we know that, first of all of this works. And secondly, this navigate also succeeded. We're now at the heroes page because we saw it rendered in Karma, and the Angular testing library was able to find this label. But what is strange is it's saying this label is not associated with an input. And now I think I see why. It should be the other way around. The ID should be on the input element, and the for should be on the label. And I didn't write this code. This is the two of heroes. And now it's a success. Look at that. So there was actually a bug in our code. This would have broken the accessibility of this application. Nice to see that. So fix, correct, name, control, accessibility. Nice. What did I change in the detail component? Oh, scam. Where's the other scam? Why is this not showing up? I didn't commit that change, right? No. Okay. VS Code is playing tricks on me, or I'm too tired to figure out what's going on. Okay, but I'll at least commit this change, which is there's some formatting by probably Prettier or something. And yeah, there's this change of replacing or switching around these attributes. This is the correct way. This is a bug in the Two of Heroes tutorial. It's pretty strange. It's an old tutorial by now, from 2016, 2017, something like that. So it's kind of sad that no one noticed it before now. So feel free to add a PR for that. I might do it myself if I remember to do it later. But for now, we fixed the bug in the code because of a test. How nice is that? And wait, where's all the other changes related to scams? Why are they not here? This is really strange. What did I put in this one? Oh, okay. So let me just go back here, undo the last commit. It's because this one was omitted from the previous commit. So let's do amend the staged changes. Okay, now it's part of. Wait, what? No. Now I think I gave it the wrong message here. So this was actually refactor, extract, heroes module, scams. Yeah. And now we have this fix, correct, name control, accessibility. was this one. And so now it's actually telling us, and you should see it here as well, that this test is passing. We have our heroes integration test. These are the other unit. These are the unit tests in the True of Heroes by default. So we have our integration test on the heroes page. When adding a hero, the hero is displayed when the add button is clicked, and the UI looks like this. So we can see there's no text being put in yet. Right? Let's do this test. Oh, whatever. Karma. I did something wrong. Okay, so, but it's passing. So it did get all the way down here. And since we're doing get by, it should throw an error if it was unable to find this one. So we should have changed the name to Bram. I didn't see that happen in Karma, but I don't know. We should have clicked the add button. Oh. Okay. So in the heroes component, how is it like it's rendering these heroes, but where does that data come from? It comes from the hero service, and the hero service is using HTTP. So we would need to respond with something like an array of heroes. Yeah. Okay, this is getting very elaborate, but it's because of the design of this application. The heroes component is a mixed component, so it worries about fetching data and initializing it and subscribing, worries about validation, and yeah, you can read all about this in my Model View Presenter article series. But yeah, this is a mixed component. It has way too many concerns. They are both presentational and other layers of our application. So if this was instead a presentational component, we could very easily in our test replace whatever the heroes being rendered, except this is an integration test. So we still need some proper place to fake the data. So we could use the HTTP testing controller. Like that would be the closest to real environment thing. But we could also fake the hero service. And this is what using Spectacular instead of an end-to-end testing framework allows us to do, because we still have the flexibility of the test bed. I mean, we're using Angular testing library, so it's kind of wrapping the test bed. So we would need to add it here instead of in the test bed configure testing module. So here we could say the hero service. Hero service. Ah, come on. Like so. We could say provide hero service, use. And what do we want to use? We could do a class, and we'll call it the fake hero service. It has fake data. Yeah, let's do that. So we will make that return a static list of heroes, very similar to what this application is actually doing, which is just making a fake web API for returning these heroes. Like this is the in-memory database and doesn't contain anything except for this array of heroes. So we could do the same here, but on the hero service level, stubbing that out, the fake implementation. Yeah, let's do that. And I'll just put it here for convenience. It should really be. No, let's do it a more proper way. Fake hero service. Yeah. Let's not make too many shortcuts, even in a stupid live stream after dark. So we'll have our fake hero service. And what we'll do, it will be provided in root. And it should implement the hero service. Except we only want for now to implement one of them. That's the one being used by the heroes component. And that is the get heroes. Is it used anywhere else? 3 references. Okay. Oh, so it's actually using get heroes and add hero and delete hero. So do I really want to add this fake implementation right now? I have done this before. So maybe I'll just pull up a fake implementation. Let's see what I have. My repositories. 2 of heroes. Yeah. This was actually the project I used to that's where the spectacular idea started. I was learning the router testing module. I wrote, I think, 3 articles about the router testing module because it's barely documented on Angle.io. So, but it's very powerful. So I want to figure out how to use it. So yeah, you can read about it. Just search for router testing module, and I'm sure the articles pop out in the first few results. But the final, like, learning the router testing module, first I was learning about testing what's called routed components. Those are the ones that are in the routes array. And then I was learning about testing routing component. That's components that are routing to other pages, either using the router link directives or the router service directly, for example. And then I learned how to test the Angular route guards using the router testing module. And I wrote about testing them in isolation as a class with faked and stopped dependencies and so on, but that's not really convenient because many of the objects related to routing, they are really complex objects. So you don't want to be faking or stubbing them because it's hard to do. And Angular doesn't have a nice API for doing so. So yeah, you're really better off with using the router testing module, but then you need to know how to use the router testing module. So for each of the types of tests, I wrote an article, both using isolated unit tests and using integrated tests through the router testing module. And then you can compare the 2 approaches and see which one makes sense to you. But all of that was for the purpose of figuring out how to write an integration test across a whole feature module. So that's the final step of my journey. And once I figured it out here using this repo, so it's still private. I'll make it public. I just forgot. But yeah, that's once I figured out how to set up the router testing module, I saw how difficult it was. So I decided to try to make a library, and that was the beginning of Spectacular. So the idea was seeded sometime last year, and this year we published the first versions. So where do I make this public? Is it here? Private, manage, change visibility, make it public. Type all of this in. No. Okay, so now it's public. You can look at it if you'd like. And I was working on this one for a while, and there's several branches, and I also had a few other interesting things, like using given when then syntax to do more of the behavior driven development, but using the test bed. That was kind of fun. Figure out how to do the testing of route guards. And in this branch, I had, let's see, where's the history? Is it because I'm zoomed in, or I just can't remember where the history is? But here, it was because I was zoomed in too much. Yeah. So as you can see, I was working on this for a while. Half a year, basically. Yeah. But, and this was just for figuring out how to do integration testing. So this is half a year of research and then some months spent on turning it into a library. And before that, I spent another half a year learning how to use the router testing module for all those use cases. So here we go, spectacular. Just one of the APIs is a year of work or even more. So I hope you enjoy it and that you can now start to see the benefits after seeing this today. But yeah, anyways, what I wanted to get from this one, which is now public, right? It says private here, but I think it's just not updated. Yeah, it is public now. What I wanted to find here is the fake. Oh no, it's a fake crisis service, not a fake hero service. Oh. Yeah, but this is the same approach we want here. Like just fake whatever we need. Use a behavior subject or a regular subject, a replay subject, whatever. But I might have a fake hero service somewhere. Sure. 12 heroes. Model review presenter. This is actually a pretty old repo. If we're lucky, we will have a fake. No fake hero service. Darn. Pretty sure I was testing in this repo as well. So what do my tests look like? How is it using the hero service? Oh, it's creating Jasmine spies. Yeah, this is one way to do it. That's how I did it years ago. More than 2 years ago. Okay, people. I really don't want to keep you hanging, but oh, do I really want to do this? Let's just, like, we needed a few of these APIs. So which one could we have? We needed the get heroes, add hero, delete hero. So let's just add them here. Add hero, get hero. What was that again? Get heroes. Okay, that's all of them. Do it. Okay, what should I do? Like keep you hanging? Do a cliffhanger? Or no, you're hanging in there with me. Okay, yeah, let's continue. But it's now like 1:30 a.m., so I should really be getting to bed really, really soon. But okay, so we needed 3, and thank you for staying, Beeman, by the way. And 1 or 2 other people, thank you for hanging around as well. Get heroes, add hero, delete hero. So we also need the delete hero. And I'm just putting in the names here because I want to get the actual interface or signature from here. Oh, get heroes, how could that be void? Oh, I'm looking at the component. Yeah. That didn't make sense at all. Yeah, so we need to go to the hero service. And now find the get heroes. Yeah, looks like so. Turns an observable RxJS and a hero from this this workspace. And the delete hero should be around here. This is its signature. It's an observable of hero, the one that's deleted. And the last one was add hero. Was right here. Probably not the first midnight coding you do. No, you're absolutely right. Many of the NG workers repos were produced in the middle of the night. Like the Lumberjack, Nacho Vasquez and I, we spent, I think, 2 months almost every single night working on Lumberjack to finishing the version 2. So that was a big effort. And we spent months working on it before that as well, just not every day. But that final 2 month stretch was when we figured out like what's all the features we want, all the breaking changes for version 2. So we kind of set the scope for what's the major version 2 going to look like, and then which essential features do we want to have and which ones should stay in the backlog because they can be released in a minor version release. So yeah, once we figured out the scope of version 2, we were like working every single day on Lumberjack for 2 months, almost every single day, hours and hours in the middle of the night to finish it. And pretty happy with the result. We're looking forward to seeing some more people using it. Lumberjack is the logging library for Angular, where you can it's very modular, so you can plug in several drivers, one for the browser console, one for displaying the log in the UI. Maybe that would be your custom log driver. I have another episode coming up where we'll do that on Angular After Dark. We already showed in the episode how to add it to the Tour of Heroes application instead of its very custom logging. But yeah, so you can add multiple log drivers, one for your backend, one for displaying in the UI, one for the browser console, and then you can filter and say, I only want the errors to go to the backend, and I want the rest to be the debug and trace to be shown in the console, but not debug and trace in the UI or whatever. You can do however you see fit. And yeah, that's generally the approach of Lumberjack. And then it has an imperative API, a declarative API. So we're hoping to see some usage. We already did. Like starting small, right? I think we have yeah, just one more thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think we have around 100 downloads per week right now. So thank you for that, whoever is using it. And yeah, send us comments and feedback. That would be nice. So where did we come from? At heroes or at hero. That's the signature we need here. I hope this is not too boring. I mean, I wanted to show a spectacular and Angular testing library, but since there weren't any tests in place for this part of the application, we need all of this stuff fixed first. So that's what Developer Live is all about. If you wanted to do one thing, you end up doing 10 things before you can do that, right? Okay, so yeah, right now we're interested in getting the heroes because that's what sets this property of heroes that are rendered here in the DOM. But now we have an interesting thing because when we add the hero, what is happening? In the end, the hero service.add hero will be called, and after that we'll call the HTTP server service, and in the real implementation, and after the server response that now it has been saved in a post request, then we will go and in the local array inside of this component, this is really poor code, push this hero. Okay, so the add hero in our fake service should just say, yeah, I added it to the server, and then the component will go and add it here in the local local array, which is what is being rendered here through the template in this for loop, all the list items. Okay, so we need to implement two things. We need the get heroes, and we need to just do a no op for the add hero method. And looks like for this use case, we're not going to need the delete right now. But we still need to implement. Let's just do throw new error not implemented. That will be for later test. The add hero should just return of hero, like so. And I suggest that you use a schedule, an async scheduler of some kind when testing, because otherwise all the observables are synchronous, and that's usually not the case for a lot of observables because you're communicating asynchronously with a server or some other API. So I usually use the ASAP scheduler because it's not a macro task like it's not a macro task like a timer or an interval or a fetch or an XHR request. But it is asynchronous on the microtask level, so that is similar to a promise, actually. So that would be run as soon as the synchronous call stack is emptied. So yeah, I usually use the ASAP scheduler. It's the easiest to work with, but it also adds that asynchronicity to our fake implementation here so that it's not returning synchronously. That would be the case if we were just returning an observable. That would happen immediately in the synchronous call stack. So get heroes. So here we would return also a scheduled of heroes. We'll have an array of heroes then, and we will schedule it using the ASAP scheduler, which is a micro task usually. So now let's go and find those heroes. Put them here. And this would be an array of heroes. I like to make them read-only. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, it doesn't like that they're read-only. So, yeah, let's not do that here. Okay, so now we actually have what I think is or hope is working implementations of add hero and get heroes. This should be enough for our use case here. So we are replacing the actual hero service with the fake hero service, which is returning this static data. And it's just for what we need right now. We're not testing the error scenario of what if the request fails to add the hero. We're not testing that, at least not right now. So it's always always returning like an observable that went well. It's returning the added hero. It might need an ID. I can't quite figure that out. Like we'll have to see here. Add. Yeah, it's just a name. Yeah, so this is, so it's actually not a hero. It's just fooling TypeScript because a hero probably also needs an ID. So our fake hero service should probably add that ID. And the IDs are something like 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. So where's the fake service? It's here. So let's add. I don't know. Let's get it a random ID between 21 and 100. Yeah, let's do that. So let's do hero is same hero but with an ID of random. ID is math random. How do you? It's like so. If I wanted to go up to 100, 100 times math at random, and then math seal, something like this. But now it can return between 1 and 20 as well, which we don't want. How would we fix that? I don't know. I can't figure that out at this point of night. So let's skip that for now. It might get the same idea as one of the others, which could lead to flaky tests. But yeah, let's stick with that for now. So we will return the same hero, but we will have added an ID. You know what? Let's make it up to 10,000. Then there's a lesser chance of it returning 1 to 20. Yeah. So now, less likely that it's a flaky test, but it might still happen. I just don't want to figure out the implementation for that right now. Like it would have to loop if it maybe loop like do a second generate another number if the number was between 1 and 20. But I don't want to add that logic right now. I'm okay with that. All that work leading up to this. So what can we do now? We have replaced the hero service with a fake hero service with static data and observables that are asynchronously scheduled. And we should be able to click or like change. Wasn't that what I was doing in this one? One like changing. I was doing input. Yeah, that should be okay. I was doing it on the actual text box element, but according to the API docs we saw somewhere, this should be good what we're doing. Then let's see. Yeah, we're going to need something like this as well. Oh, we already did that. Yeah, click the button that says add hero. I mean, this is just telling us any element that says add hero. Hopefully there's not more than one on the page. But I think we could, like there's some, yeah, there's another API like get by role. And then we would say, probably the role is called button. And then we would say like, so name hero. So this would tell the Angular testing API, click a button that says add hero. And that's probably more correct because that's if you were instructing a human what to do, this would be more Like instead of click the place that says add hero, you could say click the button that says add hero. So this is probably more nicer, a better way, I hope, to use the Angular testing library. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, if you ever see this. Okay, so let's run the test again. And yeah, by the way, this is usually how I work. I'm rarely opening the application itself, except if I'm doing actual UI development, like things that are displayed on the page. How does it look and all of that? Because all of this is mostly talking to the server and changing state, and you really don't need to look at a UI for that if you have a good understanding of Angular and all that. So that's the way I usually work. Okay, let's see now. So now when running the test, we actually see all these superheroes, the NG workers team and a few other. And so, but the question is, does it actually, it should add a hero name here and click the add hero button. Did it do that? Doesn't look like that. Doesn't look like that. But the final thing here is asserting that now we're seeing the new hero name. So Bram should now be in the list. So how would we do that? Now it's another point in time where I don't really know about the testing library, but let's see what we can figure out. So like how would you assert on that you have some text? Some text. I guess it would be, yeah, there's one example here. Expect some element with a test ID to have text content. But I don't really care about which element on the page right now. Do I? Do I care? Do I really care about which element? It is an li element. There should be a link, actually, with the hero name, or a span. Okay, a badge with the hero name. No, the badge is the ID. The link has the hero name. Yeah, okay, so there's a few details about there are some details about this currying API of Angular testing library that we might run into now. But let's look at how I did it in the other one here when playing around with Spectacular and Angular testing library for another feature in Two of Heroes, the Two of Heroes routing tutorial. So what did I do here? Somewhere. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Yeah, we have something similar to this in our assertion. So we will expect that query by text doesn't return null, because the query APIs will return null if it doesn't have a match. So if it does return null, we're unable to find an element with this selector and this text content. And there's the regex is because of white space and things like that. I found that I often need to provide a regex rather than the string. So let's just go with that for now. So the selector would be .heroes and then an A. Yeah. The link inside of the heroes list we would like to see something that has the name Bram. Okay, but it is, okay, so it is returning a null. So now the test is failing. Okay, in the other test suite, I used input, I think. So let's try that instead. But it's still failing. Okay, what does it look like in Karma? Oh, okay. Well, okay, let's. Why is it showing the front page now? That's from another test, I think. So maybe we should say we only want to run, we say focus describe. So now it's only running this test suite. Right? Yeah. Try to zoom in again. Okay. So since we're using getBy, it should throw an error if we're not finding the element we are expecting. So what if we just add random stuff here? Then it should actually fail much earlier. Yeah. And let's open up Karma again. Yeah. Unable to find a label with the text of hero name 000. Yep. Okay. So that step is working. It is locating that name control. And we are firing an input event on the name control with the target that has a value of Bram. And then we are clicking this button. And again, if we added random characters here, this step should fail. Yeah, it is. Okay, so at least the selectors are right. But maybe something about the event. Okay. Okay. Let's just here try a name that we know is in the list. So there should be a Lars. Yeah. So that's a success. So now we know that actually the case is that Bram is not added to the list. Right? Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry, Bram, you're not in the heroes right now. I'm really trying to add you. So, okay. I'll commit this one. Fake hero service. Let me push all of this so you can also see it in the repo. It's called Spectacular Example Angular Testing Library. And yeah, you are an unsung hero. I know. It's terrible. Story of my life. Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm trying my best to add you to the team of heroes. And it's just my lack of knowledge of the testing library, I think. Although this was working on the other, like it's almost exactly the same setup as this test, where we are navigating to a page. It's a crisis center page, the detail page of a crisis. We're not getting by label because this one didn't have any labels. It wasn't accessible, but we are using fire event input target value. So I would say this is exactly the same approach. Then we are clicking a button with the name, which means the text. And then we are expecting some other things happen in this one. This is a bit more complex use case. But in the end, it asserts on, let's see. Yeah, this one, that we're now seeing, we're on a different page. So we're actually on the home page, the Crisis Center homepage, and we're now seeing a selected link with this crisis name in it. So I would say this is pretty similar to what we're doing in this feature, adding something to a list, basically. So why isn't it working? That is strange. Don't think I added more setup. No, this is like the exact same setup, but replacing this service with a fake. Oh, this one. This might, this has nothing in particular to do with Angular testing library. It's more about the test bed in general, auto detect changes. This might actually help us. This might help us. It's usually good to add this one. Because otherwise, sometimes you need to run like fixture detect changes. Although the Angular testing library should take care of that in most of the APIs it uses or it provides to us. For example, when navigating, it will call change detection for us. And when clicking, firing events, it will also call change detection for us. So now what is going on? I would really like to use, usually I use this thing called Wallaby, and it's supposed to have zero config, and it usually works, but for some reason it doesn't work for this repo right now. No, it's, yeah, I don't know why it's not working. It's just not my day. But Wallaby would have helped me out here. Because it has a bunch of tools, like you can step through each step of this test and all the code it uses. You could do that with a debugger as well, but where is it even? This one. I never set that up. It's a mess. So I don't have that set up, and I don't remember how. So now we're more at the stage of like manual debugging. Because I guess, well, what should happen when we click the add button? Well, let's look in the component here. Add button is clicked. The add event handler is called. Oh, and afterwards it will clear the hero name. That's why we didn't see a hero name. Maybe. Probably. But let's go into this event handler, the add event handler. Why can't we do that? I don't know, but it's this one. So now the hero service add hero should be called. The array should be mutated. This is so ugly, but yeah, it should be mutated by using push. And that should call, and then we would need like a change detection. So, so maybe we should call it here manually. I don't know. Let's see. No, that was not it. It certainly doesn't do something bad to leave it here for now, although it shouldn't be necessary. Right. Oh, something asynchronous is happening. Yeah, so maybe the fake async is a nice fit here. So maybe we need to do tick. So now we're using fake async and tick from the Angular core testing package. What's happening now when I save? Yeah, that was it. Okay. And this one is probably needed. No, it's not. Okay. Well, that's nice. So now, Bram, you're a hero, and we might even be able to see it to have proof that you are a hero, number 2480. Nice. Nice. Wow. All of that for one test case, right? The first of many. Cover displaying an added hero. Yeah. What does this mean? King B. You're hero B now. Or are you King Daboja the B? Always being unique that way. Yeah. Yeah, you're a troublemaker. You're a troublemaker. I needed all this. Okay, so the reason we need this is actually because let me push this last change here. Now you can look at all the code yourself if you want to. The reason is this fake hero service that I made it asynchronous by using the ASAP scheduler. It would be the same if we were using the async scheduler, but that's using a macro task, so a timer or a timeout or something like that. So that's the reason we need tick and fake async, because a lot of the things going on in Angular, like the event listeners and the event handlers and so on, a lot of that is synchronous, but something asynchronous is sorry, a lot of it is async, but event emitters and subscriptions to event emitters, that's actually synchronous by default. But here, once we click that add button, this asynchronous event is being triggered. In the real app, it's an HTTP request. So we would have to wait for that asynchronous event to finish before Angular updates the DOM and we're able to see Bram added to the list. So if we didn't use scheduled here, we probably wouldn't need tick, but it would also be like the hero service, the real implementation would never be synchronous. So I'm trying to be close to a real environment here by having an async event. And because of that, I need to call tick, which clears out the micro and macro tasks that are currently scheduled. And that means in English, that means wait for this thing to finish and return a value for that observable. And after that has happened, now when we call this API from Angular testing library, it will probably also call detect changes on the fixture. Yeah. I'm just interested to see this last thing here. Do I actually need to call this, or will it still succeed? It will still succeed. No, it will fail. Okay. Okay. Oh, so it was this one calling detect changes after the async event happened. Okay, that's nice. So I'll leave that in. And that's a general tip for testing with the test bed. Set this to on because then you need less of. If I didn't put that in, I would need the component fixture and then detect changes. And I really don't like having to emulate Angular by running change detection all the time. But we do need to tell this test to wait for the async events, and then it's picked up by these auto detect changes on the component fixture. So it will update the DOM after this point, and then we will be able to see Bram in a heroes element here. There we go. That was adding a hero. So let's just make sure our test case makes sense, or we could see it even nicer here. The heroes integration test on the heroes page. When adding a hero, then the hero is displayed when the add button is clicked. Yeah. Of course, one other important thing is that the hero is saved to the server, but that would be a different test case. This one is about what's happening in the UI, and this is the happy path. There's also what happens if the request to the server fails. Then the hero shouldn't be displayed. So those would be other test cases. And now I failed by not removing this F describe or focus describe. So now, after turning it into a regular describe, all the tests are running again, and they are all passing at this point. So let me just amend that last commit and do a very dirty forced push. So here we go. Wow, that was 2 hours and 10 minutes spent on Spectacular and on the Angular testing library. So I hope you learned something about testing, about Angular testing library, about Spectacular. And I hope you're starting to see the benefits of using Spectacular, because now we can actually run tests across a whole use case, which is very similar to an end-to-end test, but it's faster than an end-to-end test, and we can replace services when that is more convenient. So that was it for today. Feel free to ask me about anything about Spectacular. We have a channel on the Angular Discord server called Spectacular. It is a 0.2 version, so it is a pre-release, but it should be stable for production. The only thing, as I mentioned earlier, is I don't currently guarantee it will work with Angular versions other than 11. So it might, but there's no guarantee, and I really want that guarantee before version 1.0. But the API is stable, and I didn't have to add anything to 0.2 other than what's already there to integrate it with Angular testing library, and that's nice because that's what it was designed for. Next thing is examples how to set it up with the component harnesses. That should also be possible. So that's something to look out for. It should be compatible right now, but it's more of showing examples like we did today of how to use it. Of course, I need to add that to the documentation. So that's all for Angular After Dark today. Thank you for hanging around for a few hours. I really hope you learned something. Did I learn anything? No, it was the usual blocks. Like I'm still learning about Angular testing library. I think it's a really nice library, but I was missing this like how to integration test across a whole feature. So now we see features where like test where we can like we route to some place, we click some things, and we might end up in other places and do some things and see things on other routes. So that's really nice. We're not isolated to a single component. We're instead isolating a whole feature module, and that feature module can contain many routes. So that's what we saw today. There was a lot of setup needed to give the Two of Heroes app a better design, and now we were able to test that feature in isolation. That's really nice. That means a team could work in isolation on a feature Even when like doing micro front ends, they could test it in isolation without having to integrate it with a real app. That's also nice. It also means we could distribute it as a package, on a private registry, and maybe that would be used by micro front ends. So nice traits of testing this way. We're testing as a user, so there's not a lot of implementation details. There's nothing about components or events on components or input or output properties. It's more of which DOMs elements are available, what are we clicking, what are we seeing, what are we typing. Yeah, so that's a really nice approach when you want to test many blocks, many modules, not Angular modules, but software modules, many classes of an application. Yeah, that's the purpose of Spectacular's feature testing API. It also has 2 other APIs, so make sure to check that out. That's all for today, and now it's really late. But I appreciate you hanging around. Hope to see you some other time, and I hope the content was visible. I only have 720p right now. If not, go check out the repo. Search for Spectacular on my GitHub page. Okay, see you around. Bye.